Good morning, everybody. My name is Thomas Trin, and I'm going to be talking to you about self-driving cars. All right, so it is scientifically proven that traffic is one of the greatest contributing factors in lowering life satisfaction. So in a report from the Office for National Statistics, they said that holding all else equal, commuters have lower levels of happiness and higher anxiety on average than non-commuters. So basically, traffic sucks. I mean, we all know this. In the future, though, we won't have to worry about traffic. In the past couple of years, self-driving cars have become more and more a reality. Autonomous vehicles, or how I'm going to refer to them throughout the speech, AVs, are cars that are operated without a driver. We have a ton of companies right now that are looking into this. Uber, for example, wants to phase out their drivers and go for self-driving. Google is working on one too. So self-driving cars are coming in the future pretty soon. These vehicles are almost likely highly advanced computers that are on the road, but not only are they able to take you to where you need to go, they're going to be able to eliminate traffic. Through the use of advanced technology, these AVs will abolish human error in headway space and eliminate speed limits as well as traffic lights. My main claim for today is that autonomous vehicles will nearly eliminate traffic in the future, which will help everybody out. Come on. So my first point is headway space. And for those of you who don't know what that is, you deal with it almost every day if you're a driver. It's the space between you and the car in front of you. With the use of computer precision in the AV, you will be able to reduce the space between your car and the car in front of you, so you can put more cars in the road, more cars on the freeway, and you can keep them in constant motion. So the reason why traffic is considered traffic is because you're stopped, there's congestion. But with headway space reduced, you're reducing that space so you can have more cars in constant motion. Some researchers estimate that per lane freeway capacities could increase to 4,000 vehicles per hour. So that's a lot of vehicles. That was a quote from Princeton's FP Think group. They're a group that works on a lot of research stuff like this. So other reasons why reducing headway space through autonomous vehicles is a thing, is a good thing, is because we can't. There's no way that having about 6 inches between you and the other car isn't gonna cause a problem. I mean, the humans can't react in time for any sudden shift in the car in front of them if they are that close. So that's why we have our safe distances in our minds versus what the computer can do and what they are capable of. My next point is that through the use of autonomous vehicles, we can eliminate traffic lights and speed limits. So that sounds crazy, driving without any speed limits or any traffic lights. Well, the traffic lights are really bad on traffic. They slow down everyone's commute. We've all been there behind someone on their phone and the lights green and we're like, move. So yeah, humans are slow reacting. Not everybody is gonna make that light if one person speeds up, the person is delayed a little bit and goes a little bit after. With autonomous vehicles, everyone can leave at the exact same time, at the exact same speed away from each other. This is done with the use of a system called vehicle-to-vehicle communication, or V2V, and it sets up a infrastructure so they all can communicate with one another. All the different cars can communicate. From the Huffington Post, Adam Jones is predicting the road to complete vehicle autonomy will begin in 2026. What's more, he says the technology will eventually reach 100% market penetration within 2 decades. So that's pretty soon. That's within 10 to 20 years that we can see this vehicle-to-vehicle infrastructure. The speed limits can also be reduced because since they can communicate with one another, they won't have any risk of collision. For example, if you want to look at something that is grounded, something we know right now, the German Autobahn has these shared norms where they use the right lane for traveling and the left lane for passing, and there's no speed limits on that freeway. So they can go 120 miles per hour if they'd like, but it wouldn't be a penalty for them at all. So those are my main points, but let's go over some opposing stuff. A lot of people are really skeptical about what self-driving cars will actually mean, and they're saying stuff like during weather conditions they would be unsafe, and that's true. But you know what else is unsafe? Humans driving in the rain. So that's also pretty unsafe. But Google states they're also working on a self-driving car that their laser sensors will be able to detect rain, and they will be able to teach their cars to see through the raindrops, and they will be able to drive more safely by sensing other outside weather conditions. AVs will also be able to pull away to safety, even if we don't want to, But that's better for safety for everybody. In conclusion, self-driving cars will reduce traffic to zero. Headway and eliminating lights and speed limits will allow AVs to surpass human capabilities. The strong systems of V2V, vehicle-to-vehicle, will allow AVs to operate efficiently. This is a very speculative future, but researchers are saying it's coming within the next 10 to 20 years, like I said. The boundaries that we have to go through are creating this V2V infrastructure and, of course, fixing all the different liabilities where, like, if there's an accident, whose fault is it? Is it the cars? Is it the people? All these problems do have to be fixed for this future to happen, but it will take a while, but AVs will fix our roads and will thus make our commute a lot more happier. Thank you, everybody.
All right, well, you do identify the proposition at the beginning of the speech. It does seem to go on a long time, though, and there's some extra argument in it that isn't really focusing on the practicality or the long-term effect on this. The way it's phrased is a little bit awkward, so I think it could probably be crisper and more direct, but it's clear at the beginning where you're headed with this. The contents, it's not really a preview of the content so much as it is you're defining what some of these issues are, and then they turn out to be important on the supporting structure. So it's not really a layout of a roadmap of where we're headed, which I guess we wouldn't need if we had an AV, but that's going to be superfluous. By the way, that would be one of those things when I think of the refutation speakers, I would just say, well, let's look and see how efficiently GPS is working for people. I'm sure that there are never any problems with people's use of GPS, and if that's the case, then maybe AVs will be perfectly fine. But if there are problems with GPS, then that's the first stage in this particular process, and that might suggest that there could be potential problems or faults down the road. So I thought that the organization was a little bit problematic. I could pick out things that you're talking about, but most of the things that you're talking about sound like they are descriptions of how AV is supposed to work, not necessarily arguments or demonstrations that they're going to have this particular impact. For example, the one place that you have a statistical citation where you were talking about some researchers, and then you kind of later come back and talk about who that group is, say that it could be 4,000 cars an hour, and I'm going, well, how does that compare to what we have now? I don't have any contrasting information. 4,000 cars an hour. If I'm on the freeway watching cars go by and I'm counting them, I would guess that I'd get 4,000 cars going by in an hour. So you need comparative data in order to make those inferences. And I think that that's something that's kind of missing from the presentation. The idea of that, the distance that you talked about, the headway distance, I do think you explained that pretty well. The visualization that cars are all going to be 6 inches apart and traveling at 100 miles an hour, though, I'm not exactly sure is a comforting one for people. The idea that the V2V communication is going to solve that, I understand the principle behind that. You mentioned several times that Google and other companies are working on these sorts of things. So what kind of results have they had? What examples can you point to for their success? Are they able to do the things that you're talking about, or at least can they do them in the either in the laboratory or in the computer, and at least speculate on these particular results? I think we need a little bit more information like that. I thought you did a good job explaining the concept and the potential benefit, and I think there's a good need at the beginning. Look, nobody likes traffic. I think you're right with that. And if this is a solution to traffic problems, that's going to be great. The idea that it'll be practical in 2026, I like the fact that you actually have a timeline that you're talking about here. So in less than 10 years, these things are going to be on the road, and you're saying within 2 decades after that, that's going to be, it will have 100% penetration. So basically 30 years from now, nobody will be driving a car, and I like the fact that you have that timeline there, because that'll give somebody who's refuting this some ability to suggest that, you know, there are limitations on this. Look, I was promised my flying car 40 years ago, and it still hasn't shown up. So, the promises of engineers and technology are great. The reality of it is not always as efficient as it is suggested here. I think you also do a nice job presenting to the audience. You're enthusiastic there. There's a good summary. But like I said, a lot of it seems like an explanation of the concept rather than making the argument. All right, thank you.